Uh, Naturally, I could have enough questions to talk for days, but I'll get right down to business
Yes.
and ask you how you assess Hanoi's strategic ambitions in Southeast Asia.
You know, Hanoi, the communist government there is following, it seems, is respecting the traditions of the emperors of Vietnam and of also the late Ngô Dinh Diem of South Vietnam. I know quite well our common history, Vietnam, Cambodia. Uh, since the 15th century up to now, Vietnam never ceased to try to swallow up Cambodia. If it is not possible for it to swallow up Cambodia quickly and at once, Vietnam swallows up Cambodia step by step. And so from the 15th century to the 19th century, Vietnam succeeded in swallowing up one part, almost one half of our country, South Cambodia, which is now called, as you know, South Vietnam. And xong tôi ai muốn đi lại nó ná Carol xong tôi có trong của cô oh Carol ma Carol also French Carol please
please.
will you allow me please to speak to your colleague Carol of France of Le Nouvel Observatoire for a few minutes and but from the 15th century to the 19th century, they succeeded in having one half of Cambodia, which is called now South Vietnam. And Ngô Dinh Diem, you know him,
Yes.
Ngô Dinh Diem. He was a protege of the United States, and he, during his reign, he liked to ask me to give to him some frontier villages of Cambodia and some offshore islands. I refused to give up, and he did not succeed to conquer any part of Cambodia because I resist very strongly. And Pham Bang Dong, Vo Nguyen Giap, led one of North Vietnam, and the Viet Cong also, Nguyễn Hữu Thọ, Huynh Tan Phat of the Viet Cong during the Second Indochina War. They made the war. There was a war between you and the United States, and the North Vietnamese and the Viet Cong. So we support them, and they assured me that never they would invade Cambodia after their victory over the Americans. Never they would make a claim, any claim over our offshore island, concerning our offshore islands, and some villages on the common frontier. even your newspapers used to write the ill-defined Vietnam Cambodia frontiers. So they say that the frontiers are ill defined, and they pretend that some of our villages, some of our islands, included the very important island of Wai, Pulo Wai, so are Vietnamese and not Cambodian. And they pursue the policy of the emperors of Vietnam and of Ngo Diem, and that is one of the reasons why they invaded us. Another reason is that they were, really hungry. Their economy was not in a good shape. Their finance were failed, and they had no rice to eat. And to have Cambodia is to solve all their problems. And the third reason, allow me to finish my expose. The third reason is that the Russians and the Vietnamese, they are not satisfied with the regime of Pol Pot Ieng Sary, not because the violation of the human rights, since they also, the Vietnamese, they violate human rights. The United States government has condemned and Pol Pot regime and the Pol Pot regime and the Hanoi regime for violations of human rights. But it is just a pretext to invade us. The reason, the third reason, and the true reason, the very reason for why they invade us is that the Pol Pot regime is pro-Peking, and they are pro-Soviet. So there is also a problem of rivalry between the Soviet bloc and the Chinese bloc.
Right. But, sir, beyond their ambitions in Cambodia, how do you see their ambitions in the rest of Southeast Asia? Does this now bring Thailand and other countries under direct threat?
First, they have still in Cambodia difficulties to consolidate their protectorate, if I may say so. Yes. Protectora in French, they are protectorate over Cambodia, because you have read this morning the New York Times. The New York Times itself writes that there are fighting in a few parts of Cambodia. The Pol Pot army continues to resist in a few parts in Ratanakiri northeast, in Kampong Cham east, and in Battambang and in Siem Reap Angkor, northwest and north. So the fighting is continuing. The Pol Pot regime is not completely wiped out. Pol Pot himself is alive, I am sure, and his army, one part of his army and of his guerrilla units, they are alive also, and they continue to fight.
Are you in touch with Pol Pot?
Yes, by radios, radio from the jungle, the Maki and Peking. And now Ieng Sary is in Peking. In Peking, yes, as the representative of Pol Pot. He negotiated new aids. The Chinese, there is no problem about the Chinese aid, weapons and ammunition, but the problem is how, by what way we can transport the weapons and ammunition, since we have no more the seaport of Kampong Som. We have not any control over the Mekong River or the airports. So The only way is Thailand. But the question is this. Would Thailand close
Close their
her
eyes. I don't know. What do you think?
I have asked my Chinese friends to negotiate secretly with the Thai, but we have not yet any results.
Have the Chinese given you any particular promises of aid in guerrilla fighting? Not with manpower, but...
No. But finance, weapons, ammunition, everything we want.
They have promised.
Oh, not only promise, they have them ready, already to be transported. But the only way is through Thailand.
Yes.
But Thailand, will Thailand accept to...
Well, won't Thailand be fearful of
Very,
the Vietnamese?
very fearful of the Vietnamese.
Yes.
Since now they are
Under the gun, so to speak.
yes. Before Cambodia was somewhat a buffer between them, Thailand, and the Vietnamese, but now they are just neighbors now.
They must be. Yes, indeed.
Yes, they are neighbors. They have the same frontiers. Since the Vietnamese government replaced our government, on the frontiers, on the common frontier, Thai, Cambodia.
How do you evaluate the Soviet role in this aggression? Do you think they had a direct
I do not think they had a
influence?
direct. Perhaps some planes were piloted by the Russian. No, Pol Pot says that some Vietnamese, so-called Vietnamese plane bombing Cambodia, strafing Cambodia, had Russian pilot and crew. Personally, I think that the Vietnamese are perfectly capable of manning even the most sophisticated planes, even the MiG-23. Why? Because they are very intelligent.
No, I didn't mean militarily. I meant, do you think that the Soviets counseled Hanoi in any way or agreed with this policy?
Oh, yes, certainly. Certainly. The proofs are this. First, before invading us, launching a blitzkrieg, Hitlerian style against us, you know, they had already military discussion. They studied together the planning of the invasion in Moscow between Wan Tinzung or something like that. I don't know. The second of Vo Nguyen Giap, the chief of staff.
Yes.
Wan Tinzung, something like that. His name. And Ustinov in Moscow.
Yes.
And the design, Pham Van Dong led one on the one side, one hand, and on the other hand, the Brezhnev and Kosygin, they signed together the
Treaty
pact,
of Peace.
the Treaty of Peace, which is in reality a military pact, yes. And a military alliance. And that is one proof that the Russians are intimately, closely associated with Vietnam, as far as the planning of the invasion and the invasion of Cambodia, the colonization of Cambodia is concerned. And second proof, you see here inside the Security Council, you see more than Vietnam, the Russians, Czechoslovakian, and Cuba, etc., all the allies or satellites of the Russians, all they make assault attacks against the Chinese and Sihanouk all the time, very violently in support of Vietnam and of the Vietnamese invasion. So that is a very eloquent proof of their involvement in the affair.
Right. Now that the Vietnamese seem to have gained their immediate military ends in your country, what do you hope to achieve here at the United Nations?
So, we would like to have the following resolution. Simply this, in order to have, not to have opposition from some members of the council. We may have as a resolution this, the Security Council of the United Nations invite foreign armed forces to withdraw immediately
But do you have any realistic
from
hopes that this will-
Cambodia and let the Cambodians solve their problem, internal problem alone without any foreign interference? That's all.
But even if you do get such a resolution passed, what real effect will that have on the situation in Cambodia?
First, the Russians may have may veto, opposed by veto,
Yes.
the adoption of such a resolution. And second, suppose they cannot prevent from the Security Council from adopting the resolution, the effect, the effect of the resolution is moral pressure, since the United Nations cannot send any armed force to implement the resolution, so the Vietnamese will not be impressed. But perhaps by the fact that the United Nations condemned them by the resolution, ipso facto, so they may take into account the resolution. It is a moral pressure.
Have you personally been in contact with any, either President Carter or Cyrus Vance, or?
I plan to stay a few weeks in New York to continue my work in the United Nations. But after that, I shall go to Washington in order to see and have a long conversation with Mr. Cyrus Vance. He let me know through His Excellency, your Ambassador Andrew Young here, that he will be very glad to see me. So I am anxious to see him. But
is there anything the United States can do to change this situation?
We are already very satisfied with the condemnation of Vietnam, the Vietnamese aggression by the United States government. And we would like to have the United States helping us more, not financially, not militarily, but by, inviting, suggesting to your numerous allies to join their efforts with you in order to make heavier pressure upon Vietnam and the Russians, inviting them to allow the small Cambodian people to be free, independent, and not a protectorate of Vietnam.
Could I ask you some more personal
Yes,
questions?
yes, I'm ready to answer.
Were you in any sense mistreated during your house arrest period?
I repeat that I could not communicate with anybody. the foreigners who visited Cambodia, they could not see me. And I know that all of them, they asked to see Sihanouk, but the Pol Pot government refused always. But said,
what were they afraid of?
you know, they are very jealous. They say that Sihanouk has prestige in the international field. Sihanouk is outspoken. They fear.
They have reason.
They have reason to fear because I am too frank. I cannot hide the facts, the truth about our Cambodia. So they do not want me to say too much about their regime. If I see those foreigners, I said that they were also jealous because they do not want me to have a name in the news, international news, just to have Pol Pot and Ieng Sari and Pol Pot and Ieng Sari in the news, not Sihanouk with them. So that is, I think, the reason why I could not have any contact with any foreigners, even with the Chinese. They refused.
Did they in any way threaten you physically?
Oh, no, not at all.
No.
Not at all. On the contrary, they sent me the Communist Party of Cambodia, sent to me, one day sent to me a letter. They said, you are a patriot, you help us a lot to have power in Cambodia during the years 1970, 1975. You remember that I was fighting with them,
Yes,
associated
I
with
recall,
them
yes.
against the Americans and Lon Nol.
Yeah.
So they say, we will always respect you, you have nothing to fear from us. In fact, they did not threaten me. I was comfortably accommodated. First 3 years in the royal palace, and after that in a comfortable house.
But didn't you lose track of members of your family?
Yes. I had with me and my wife, the 2 children of my last wife, Madame Monique, Princess Monique. They are the 2 sons are my youngest son, and the elder ones, I lost them because they were sent into cooperatives. 2 sons, 2 daughters, and 10 grandchildren.
Are you still out of contact with them?
Out.
Right.
And during the Pol Pot reign,
Yeah.
no contact, and now with the war, with the occupation of my country by the Vietnamese, no contact. Unfortunately.
During that period of house arrest, were you in any way being informed of what was happening out in the countryside? Did you have your own informants, for instance, who would keep you?
As far as the government of my country is concerned, it informed me about the situation inside Cambodia through their its radio.
But did you have your own personal informants?
No, they gave me, a Grundig radio set, a very good German radio set. So from the morning to the evening, I could listen to the Voice of America, to the BBC, to the Philippines radios, FEBC, etc., Veritas, etc., and to the other radios, France, Inter, etc. So I could have a lot of information.
Do you believe the reports that tens or maybe even hundreds of thousands of your countrymen died through mistreatment or execution?
Yes, I listening to foreign radios, I was informed about it, but I have not any proof by myself about it. Uh, uh, 3 times or 4 times a year, their head of state, Khieu Samphan, went to see me in my house or in the royal palace and took me in his car, and we had opportunities to of visiting some provinces and seeing some people walking in the rice fields or in the cooperatives. It seems to me that they were not unhappy. They worked hard, but they were not unhappy. They smiled, and the smile seemed natural, not forced smiles. They did not seem terrorized. If I look at their face, they were quite smiling and natural. And the children, the women, also the men, they are well fed. They are well fed, not hungry. They are not slim. They are not fat, but they are not slim. No, I did not see the practice of any religion. The pagodas, etc., they becomes cooperatives, becomes building to keep rice or maize or rubber, etc.
Sir, do you know the new people in Phnom Penh? Young Samrin and Chea Sim.
Chia Sim,
Chea
yes.
Sim. Do you personally know them?
Personally, I do not know them. Samrin Chia Sim, really new man, unknown in Cambodia. I don't know who they are exactly.
Were you aware of the attempted coup? At least there were reports last April or May, last spring, that there was an attempted coup against the Pol Pot government. Were you aware of that at the time?
According to the radio of Hanoi radio, because I listened also to the Hanoi radio, it seems that there were splits. 1, 2, or 3, or 4 or 5 splits during the years 1975, 76, 77, and even 78. Splits, dispute between the leader amongst inside the Communist Party. The Communist Party, and inside the Communist Army of Pol Pot. So it seemed that there were splits and disputes and also killings, mutual killings.
Yeah.
Communist against communist, and they killed each other.
Were these leaders that were killed or soldiers?
But they did not succeed to kill Ieng Sari or to kill Pol Pot. On the contrary, the Pol Pot Ieng Sari clan was the strongest and could kill the others. It seems, according to Hanoi radio. Hanoi radio said that it is just a dispute, internal dispute. Not coup d'etat, but internal dispute. I think that there was, according to what said to me Khieu Samphan, because Khieu Samphan said to me something about it, about the splits. He said that the Khieu Samphan, Pol Pot, Ieng Sari, Son Sen, Minister for Defense, they had to purge some members of the party and some commanders of officers of the army. Why? Because they were pro-Vietnamese. They were agents of Vietnam. And some of them, of the men purged, were agents of the Central Intelligence Agency of the USA. Kills upon the head of state. He said me that. He said me that.
Interesting, yes. Is there any chance at all that you would consider returning to Cambodia?
No. I do not plan to return to Cambodia. Inside Cambodia there are now two communist parties competing for power. And both, they do not want the Sihanouk to be involved in the dispute, in the competition. So I let them compete alone without my involvement. I serve my country outside to try to get the Vietnamese out of my Cambodia, because I am defending not communism in Cambodia, but just the independence and territorial sovereignty, integrity of my homeland.
Right. Where will you go? Can you say that at this time? Where?
I'm going ahead to stay. I'm going to stay a few weeks here in New York, and after that I shall go to Washington to see Mr. Cyrus Vance, and after that I shall go to Paris. I shall stay about 1 month in France, and after Paris I shall go to Bonn, West Germany.
Right.
Please, you.
Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground.
Yes.
I did.
I loved to read Newsweek.
Oh, that's good. You used to write us. You used to write us letters. I don't know whether you remember.
I miss Newsweek a lot during 3 years. And
our.
These are carefully thought out decisions about the need for borrowed funds, and they're operating under many guidelines, internal constraints, and so on. So they don't anticipatory borrowing. It's almost a mythical concept, from my point of view.
Well, you wouldn't deny that some corporations, some large corporations, certainly do it.
No, I wouldn't deny that it could be done, just as individuals may do anticipatory buying of cars and things like that.
Right.
I think prices are going up, but prices have been going up and up and up, and yet there'll come a time when auto sales go down, and you can ask the question, well, why aren't people out buying now? Because the car prices are going to be higher next year. And I'm not sure you can prove that the figures ever show, can document that what's happening in one quarter or another quarter is linked to anticipatory behavior. I mean, you'd have to have a real sudden shift. People, if they were ever going to borrow in anticipation of something, it would have been back in 73, 74, when you got the skyrocketing oil prices and things that guaranteed a high rate of inflation. But it takes a shock like that to trigger a different kind of behavior.
And you don't think that's that shock right now?
No. I mean, we've had steadily rising interest rates all year, but varying opinions as to how high they were going to go and whether they keep going or not. So for every person who says, well, we ought to go out and borrow now because rates are going higher, you might get another opinion that says rates have peaked, and that'd be the dumbest thing you could do.
Right.
So people it takes, as I say, it's a smaller operation where one person runs the whole show that can call the tune on something like that.
Well, have high interest rates affected corporate investing? I mean, are they restricted in any way, from your knowledge?
Well, I'm trying to think. I mean, again, people have to evaluate all the factors in an investment: cost of money, expected profitability down the road. So they're narrowing that spread on the one side, but how that gets factored in with all the other things, I'm not sure. I'm not sure that it has really limited borrowing.
Well, but has it limited different types of investments because the cost of money is so high?
Well, there might be some cases more in the inventory situation. The retailer who would look at what he's earning on his stocks, goods, and look at the cost of money and say, I can't afford to carry that much inventory because it's costing me too much. The inventory investment would be effective. But I think if he's looking at building a new warehouse or store or something like that, the cost of money is part of the total cost projected over the life of it, expected return.
Right.
Hard to put in there. Of course, the cost of money is creeping up. Where's the break point? Just like 8%, but does he not like that much to quit there over 7 3/4, or when it goes to 8.5, 8 3/4? At what point when does the home buyer back away and say, I simply won't pay that?
That's what I was going to ask. I mean, when do you think the consumer's going to say, okay, that's it, I can't borrow anymore, it's just too high?
Well, of course, where the consumer himself is concerned, he's willing to pay whatever the rates are, 18, 24%, if he wants a new car. He doesn't care. So I'm not sure it's really rate sensitive there.
So it doesn't really matter for the consumer for his average goods?
No. If he has a good job and income prospects, needs a durable good and has to pay for it on credit, I don't think he's the rate at which he's paying really causes him to think twice. It doesn't stop him, and lower rates encourage him in the credit market.
It's just a matter of it has to be done, so it's done?
Yeah. It's there as a convenience, and it's merchandise to it. So it's fine.
But do you think the lengthening of the installment time has kind of almost negated the higher interest rates? I mean, at least psychologically.
Well, no, I think it's really offset the higher prices, the higher selling prices, more than the higher interest rates. I'm not sure, and again, I'm not an expert in this, that consumer lending rates have gone up. I think they've been paying the same rate for a long period of time. People who are lending to them are paying more for their money.
Right.
And that's squeezing them. But the lengthening of maturities has made it possible for people to buy a $6,000 or $7,000 car. Previously couldn't afford it. They had to finance it over 3 years.
But now they'll be able to finance it over 4 or 5.
Yeah.
So it's made it more attractive.
Yeah. So it's more the price of the product than the cost of money.
Well, I mean, it's more the lengthening of the installment time.
Yeah. But I mean, that has offset the price of the product.
Right.
Much more than the rise in interest rates.
I see.
In fact, the consumer's been paying a lot more interest over the 5 years. He's ending up paying huge burdens of interest. Extra year of credit.
Right. Well, it seems now that even with the high interest rates, I mean, it hasn't really bit into the economy, into activity yet. Would you agree?
Yes, you read, when you look at employment and production and capital spending and housing and so on, you haven't seen yet effects, but we don't know to what extent some activities or some decisions are being made that will show up. There's leads and lags in all of them.
Excuse me?
There are leads and lags in all of these things, so that the rise in interest rates could be affecting decisions that will show up as a decline in housing starts in the first quarter.
So, I mean, maybe the next 2 quarters could really tell exactly what.
Yeah, you
how
might
this.
see it then. I mean, this is always the perplexing problem in economics is, when does the cause show up in some of the other statistics that you watch? In other words, if builders are finishing out and selling houses that they had money committed to.
5 months ago.
Yeah, 5 months ago, the level of housing starts and housing sales is high, but if they're not making plans in 1979 because of the cost of money and fear they won't be able to sell those, then we'll see the effects of this over the next 2 or 3 months.
What do you think? I mean, so that's what we could possibly see. What do you think we will see? Do you think that?
Well, I think both in the housing area and sales of new cars, we will see declines, and part of it, interest rates will be part of the factor, but in automobiles also you have just the heavy debt burden consumers are carrying, and the number of cars that they bought, maybe their attitudes and other things that are more important than the cost of money. I mean, it's only one of very many variables in total economic scene.
Well, I think I've run through my questions.
Well, as I said at the outset, I'm not an expert in interest rates.
Well, I mean, but you are. I mean, you're certainly very much in tune with the economy, and.
Well, yeah, I try to watch all that, but there are the Henry Kaufmans and the others that study the flow of savings,
right,
the credit demands, and have their own views on interest rates. That's what they spend all their time on.
Right.
We tend to look at what is happening and try to relate that to some of the other areas that we're more concerned with, rather than spend so much time forecasting what's going to happen.
Yeah, well, and I think it's exactly what we're trying to do in this article is not only talk. I mean, you could do a whole article on just on forecasting, but to try to get into some of these other areas.
Yeah.
So, well, thank you very much.
Okay.
I appreciate your time.
You're welcome. Right.
Bye.
Of course, is that there aren't enough people in the United States with the intellectual vitality that is needed for a book. And this, it seems to me, is quite untrue.
There is a market out there for
There
books.
is a market,
and
yeah, they're
bookstores
in the
do seem to
woods,
be crowded.
Yeah.
You had a friend named Alwyn Lee, I believe?
Yes.
Who was book reviewer at Time for a while, and perhaps he did other writing for Time, I'm not sure, but...
He was in the book section, I think.
Yeah.
No, Alwyn was very different.
I wondered if he would be a case of someone that you thought was capable of much more, who found himself seduced by the Time empire, the way so many writers have said they were, of I'm in here and I can never get out now, they've enchained me with gold, and...
No, I think not at all in Alwyn's case. No, Henry Grunwald was editor and was very fond of Alwyn and gave him absolutely an uncommon amount of freedom. I think Wilson was speaking of the old loose days.
The old days.
When the sentences were reversed,
backwards
actually.
reeled the sentence,
Yes.
or whatever it was.
Yes.
Yeah. What about the, I think you call it the gift for public personality that you said you don't have, that some writers have, and of course Norman Mailer leaps swinging to mind.
Yeah, Mailer's very good at it, and the person I think I know best is my dear friend Yevgeny Yevtushenko, who's marvelous at it, who has the longest arms I've ever seen, and speaks very good English, Italian.
And saws the air
Russian.
with them when he performs.
Yeah, well, he makes a terrific scene.
Yeah.
And Bill Saroyan used to be very good at it. He had a voice that needed no amplification and could be heard by thousands. And also, he was gratified. He was immensely gratified by the performance.
Well, I suppose Hemingway and Fitzgerald, in a sense, had a way of making themselves public figures, whether they were performers or not, that some writers don't. You never hear them, never run across them, don't know what they're like, just read their works. But Hemingway, Fitzgerald, and Mailer in our time, and others do that. Do you think this is a danger to the writer? Does he squander useful energy and all of that should be spent sitting behind the Smith Corona?
No, I don't think there's any danger at all. The only anxiety I have is that, as I said, literature is recognized entirely on its merit, and to confuse it with publicity can be unfortunate. You can get a fairly modest writer who's written 3 or 4 good novels, who is arrested for exhibitionism in Central Park, something like that. Mm-hmm. Then he gets a little publicity. Then he beats his wife up with a stick with nails in it. Then he gets a little more publicity. And then he does something really awful, and then he's quite famous
Beating
now.
off with a stick with nails isn't awful. I think. Okay, go ahead.
And then he is a successful writer, but he's usually on the way to self-destruction. It seems to me that there should be no confusion between between one's literary and one's publicity accomplishments.
You really think writing is recognized on its merits, or do you mean that if it is recognized at all, that's what it's recognized on?
I do. I really think it's recognized on its merits. And the astonishing thing is...
Well, what about the meretricious writing that is recognized?
Well, this mysterious group, this unidentifiable group of people, seek out books that are serious, uncompromising, and resolute, and buy them, read them, enjoy them, and correspond with the authors. Of course, there is a great deal of rubbish, but that has always been with us and is not our concern.
Yes. We talked last time, and you just used the phrase self-destruction about writers and drinking, and you said it is a fascinating subject. If I could bring you back to it for just a moment.